What are you looking at? Excel docs? Bonecontusion.com? All right. Sign or see you later, Justin Pooni.
Well, let me take off my doctor's cap and put
please.
on my capologist.
Yeah, get rid of that stethoscope.
Yeah.
Say that 10 times.
Get rid of that stethoscope.
No, just stethoscope.
Stethoscope.
10 times.
Stethoscope. 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 Let's go.
Stethoscope. All right, this segment's called Sign or See You Later. So since Bobby McMahon, who was a pending free agent, has been signed, congratulations once again. The Leafs have 13 of those coming up in the offseason.
Yes.
So let's start with the forwards. Let's start probably at the top of the list, I would think. Tyler Bertuzzi. He's currently making $5.5 million. 29 years old, Justin Pooni. He's played 63 games this season so far. 12 goals, 17 assists for 29 points. He's one of 10 players making $5.5 million this season. In that group, 7th in goals, 7th in points. Before we get into sign him or see you later, who do you think is at the top of that list in points and goals for $5.5 million players? Hint, he used to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Used to play for the Leafs.
Yes, he's having a fantastic season. Producer Shawn has his...
Hyman.
There you go. Zach Hyman, by the way. 63 games played, 46 goals, 19 assists for 65 points.
Bingo.
Justin Pooni, Tyler Bertuzzi, sign or see you later.
That price, see you later.
Really?
The only way you keep Tyler Bertuzzi if you get him under $4 million, right?
Good luck.
I just don't. For the production he's getting, what has he got right this year? He has 12 goals and 17 assists.
29 points, yes.
It's horrible, right? For that type of money, no.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not saying you have to be Zach Hyman, put up those type of numbers, but you just have to be touching 25 goals.
Yeah. Also on the list, Travis Konechny.
Who's
got
leading
56 points. Kempe, 53 points. Philip Deneau, 38 points. Eberle's on that list, 37. Even Kuzmenko has more points at 29.
And Kuzmenko's been sitting the entire...
Yeah, so it's been a rough season for Bertuzzi, but he's starting, I will say this, he's starting to come into his own. And I said this at the beginning of the season, and you know it because I've been saying it to you like crazy.
Have.
I've been buying a lot of stock on Bertuzzi because I think his worth will come in the playoffs.
It's $5.5 million worth.
Well, we'll see. Listen, if he has an incredible playoff like he did last season, then maybe it's worth it. And then listen, at the end of the year, you have that discussion. You have a lot of money coming off the books. If he has a good playoffs and he's some sort of an X factor, then you have to consider re-signing him.
Are you
but
willing
as of
to
right
bring
now,
him back at this price tag?
I was going to say, as of right now, 63 games in, if I'm making that assessment, no, you don't sign him.
So let me ask you this. If he has a good playoff run, say he has a couple goals, some big hits or whatever, right? They lose in the first one, whatever. Would you sign him for a $5.5 million ticket again?
That's tough.
You can't.
Because they have so many areas to address.
$5.5 million is what is it? It's like almost 7% of the cap.
You can't imagine that he's going to accept lower than that, even with some term.
Well, if you add term to it, maybe, right?
Right.
You had a 3-year deal at 4.5, right? Compared to a 1-year deal for another 5.5. You have to consider it.
Yeah.
I just wouldn't. If I was the Leafs and the fit here, I would just say see you later. You have other needs to address. You could use that $5.5 million elsewhere to help your defense core. I wouldn't keep talking.
Yeah, I like his character. I like parts of his game. When he's on, and he's really good. He's obviously clear confidence guy, which most of these guys are. Yeah. But like I said, he's going to show his worth in the playoffs.
And it wasn't
as of right now, unfortunately, I'm going to say, see you later. Okay. Pooni?
Yeah, see you later.
Same? All right. Next forward, his buddy, Max Domi, making $3 million, also 29 years old. He's played 64 games this year, 8 goals, 26 assists for 34 points. That is no bueno for Max Domi.
See you later.
Really?
Goodbye.
Okay.
It just, again, production for the amount he's making doesn't match up. He's been given a whole lot of opportunity playing in the top 6 for the Toronto Maple Leafs. There's a whole lot of talented players he's been playing with. Just not enough.
You need more production from him. It's saying something that Bobby McMahon has more goals.
Yeah.
He also has the same amount of goals as Nick Robertson.
Yes.
Guys who haven't been in the lineup.
He's a pass-first guy, too.
He is.
Even then, you're not lighting the world on fire passing-wise.
Yeah, no, true. He, like Bertuzzi, though, like he's starting to come into his own now. And there's something to be said for somebody who can handle this market. He can. I'm just saying, he can. Can you put a price on that? I don't think so. But he's another guy that I feel like his worth will come in the playoffs. How he performs in the playoffs will determine if he's going to get re-signed or not.
But you're paying somebody for the whole season, right?
Totally.
I get it, and I understand what you're saying. I just feel that, again, with that $8.5 million that those two guys are making, you could have done a whole lot of different things with it that could have helped this team, especially on the back end.
But they were brought in for the playoffs, so let's be real. They were.
I mean, you also bring him in to score some goals in the regular season.
You need
and
the
produce
secondary
in the
scoring.
regular season, right? That hasn't happened. So when I look at this situation and I look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, both those guys are making a decent amount of money and not doing a whole lot with it. Again, playoffs are the playoffs. I don't know how long this playoff run is going to be. I don't know how much stock that they can rise. But again, if you're going to be paying,
Could be a lot.
If you're going to be paying Max Domi $1.5 million, okay.
Yeah.
But if you're paying him $3 million, I don't think so.
I think his production would be way higher if he probably started on the wing rather than playing through the middle. Clearly, there's an issue there. He can use his speed on the wing. So I think he'll be playing on the wing moving forward. I would assume so. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, the production level isn't there. If you're looking at guys like just comps who are making $3 million, there's 16 players making $3 million. Like he's in and around what Duclair is doing points wise. Pierre Engvall, Evan Rodriguez. Like, yeah.
But what do you
really expect from a $3 million player? Like, you're not expecting, 60, 70 points. It'd be nice.
But look where he's been playing though in the lineup. He's been given opportunities to play with some really good players, right? And it just hasn't come to fruition.
See you later.
Right? See you later.
Yeah. See you later. But pending playoff performances. Yeah. Connor Dewar. I don't think we've seen enough. He's going to be an RFA.
I think they keep him because he still has arbitration.
Yeah.
He's an RFA. We'll see. I think he's going to be on the cheap. He's just a roster filler guy. He's the guy. Let's see what he's like on the fourth line. I would say
I like him. The cut of his jib so far.
Yeah, I would sign him.
He's willing to drop the mitts too, by the way. I saw some highlights.
Sign him.
All right, next man. Nick Robertson. RFA, 22 years old. He's played 41 games, 8 goals, 11 assists, 19 points. Not bad for 41 games.
Yeah.
He's a guy who's been with the team since 2020. He's dealt with a lot of injuries, fractured tibia, knee, concussion, groin. Can't find a spot. He's clearly getting frustrated being sent down to the Marlies and then back up and then sent down again. I feel like this 18-game run is probably the run that makes or breaks his career with the Toronto Maple Leafs. But at the same time, I'm not willing to part ways with him. I think there's a really good player there. I honestly believe that. But at what point do you just cut ties and say, well, we have to stop developing this guy at a certain point if we want to be serious contenders for the Stanley Cup?
Well, it depends because he's, again, another RFA, so the Leafs kind of hold all the cards here. He doesn't. If he was a UFA, I would say, okay, just let him walk. But he's an RFA. He doesn't have arbitration, but I believe that he's a guy that they'll extend a qualifying offer to so they can just keep and then possibly trade. I think Nick Robertson will most likely be dealt in a trade because I don't see a team giving Nick Robertson an offer sheet at all.
No, probably not.
Right? So
that doesn't even really happen anymore anyway.
It doesn't anyway. And even if it does, it's for high-end RFAs, right? Not a guy like Nick Robertson. So I see him staying, but being a part of a deal for whoever or being a part of a filler trade to just move out of town.
Yeah.
Just because he's an RFA, and that's just how it's going to have to be moved
I hope it works out for him. I like him a lot. Like I said, this stretch here, he's got to prove that he can find a spot in this lineup. But it's going to be difficult because the Leafs actually have a little bit of depth now.
They do.
So it's going to be tough to find a spot. And who knows, if Keefe decides to go 11-7, that's another spot that's not available to him in the playoffs. So we'll see. I'm going to say, sign him because of the RFA, but he's probably going to get traded. Noah Gregor, RFA as well, 25 years old, played 55 games, 5 goals, 6 assists, 11 points. You're not looking for offensive production from this type of guy.
He's a depth piece.
He is a depth piece. Listen, he came in a tryout deal.
Yeah.
So recently, it's been tough for him to make the lineup because he's just a lot of defensive miscues and mistakes from him. But he is a guy who's got speed. He's willing to throw the body in there. He's a bit of energy. Like, I think this is a guy you probably look to sign.
Yeah, I see it
on the cheap.
I see, again, just like a min contract. Just do extend a qualifying offer to him. Again, he's a tryout, played 55 games this year.
I like him.
Good story. He probably sticks around as a depth piece, a guy that will probably be in the press box, in and out of the lineup. But again, just another depth forward they can have.
I was trying to figure out like a contract comparable. I was looking at Keegan Colasar, 1.4 per. Even that seems a bit rich, though, right?
That's too much for him.
I know. Colasar is a Stanley Cup champion.
This guy's going to be like, what, 900, 800,000 type of guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Keep him, though. He's young. On to the blue line.
Biggest needs.
At the top of the list is TJ Brodie, who's currently making $5 million. He's 33 years old. Clear drop off in his game.
Yeah.
Sign him or see you later.
Goodbye.
I know.
That $5 million you're going to get in cap relief from him being gone is going to be such a blessing for this team. Goodbye, TJ Brodie. 33 years old. Again, he's a guy who I think his next contract, he might be a PTO guy come next season.
You think?
I don't see a team.
Yeah, they will.
He's a right shot defenseman. Yeah, I mean,
He can't be your horse on the back end.
he might be a guy that again signs for like $1 million, like a Luke Shen type deal that he got on. Actually, Luke Shen got a pretty sweet deal.
No,
I
think there's a market for TJ.
Nobody's
Brodie.
going to sign TJ Brodie for over $3 million. It's going to be
You're bringing him in as
a depth defenseman,
a depth second pair, but a guy who can definitely slot in on a
he's
third.
a third pair for me.
Is he dropped that far down?
For me, he's a third.
I know
pair
he hasn't
defense.
been great this year.
Third pair
Played a lot of the
defenseman.
year on his offside, which excuse me has affected him. He's looked better on his natural side. Maybe he finds a fit somewhere else. For some reason, I just see him in a Arizona Coyotes uniform
Maybe.
next season.
They need to hit the cap floor.
Don't you see that?
I mean, they probably need to hit the cap floor. So
Or San Jose?
yeah, he's going to be a
That's
guy.
where I see him.
Yeah, they might offer him a whole lot of money there, a little bit more money there to hit the cap floor. But I just don't see.
God, I
him.
feel like we're being disrespectful to TJ Brodie a
I
little
would
bit.
be disrespectful. We're analyzing his play on the ice and determining whether the Leafs should sign him or not. And that's just where he fits now.
All right, I'm calling it right now. He's going to land in Arizona, San Jose, or Chicago.
Yeah, I could see that.
That's where you see TJ Brodie. Okay, so see you later. Timothy Liljegren, RFA. He's currently making $1.4 million. 24 years old, Justin Pooni. Is this the last hoorah?
I think what happens with Liljegren is that they go to arbitration, they get a 1-year deal with him, and then he becomes a UFA.
Yeah.
And then prove it to us, right? Or he's again, same thing as Nick Robertson. You find a package after you sign him to try to trade him, right? I just I don't think his arbitration will be more than $2.5 million.
No, I don't think so.
So I mean, I wouldn't.
That's not going to be a fun process for him.
No, but again, it might light a fire under him and want him to play better coming. Next
Maybe,
season.
but he's a pure confidence
but
guy. I think his confidence will be destroyed after that conversation.
His last stand, kind of in Toronto, his last
Liljegren's last stand.
his last dance per se.
Oh wow!
Right?
Everyone gets a last dance these days.
Yeah,
right?
so I mean, get the cameras out. Could be the last year of
Get out of here!
Liljegren's-
Get the cameras out. Similar to what I said about Nick Robertson,
Yeah.
like at some point you have to say we cannot continue to try and develop these guys.
Yeah.
You know, this isn't the AHL. We're the NHL. We're a serious team. We need serious players.
Yeah.
And as of right now, dude, Liljegren is not a serious player. Like, I can make the case where Keefe should probably scratch him
Yeah.
from the lineup, but because they don't have right shot D, that's the only reason he's in the lineup. If there was another right shot D, Liljegren isn't playing.
We've talked about it before. I want Benoit to be in the lineup over at Liljegren because Benoit plays a simpler
Samesies.
game.
I
right?
love Benoit.
Samesies.
Samesies. All right, see you later. Joel Edmundson, $800K. He's 30 years old.
Well, he's not. There's salary retention involved, but
He's a UFA.
we'll see.
I think I'm calling it now. After the playoffs, they're going to be like, we're going to sign this guy. It
I
might be a
think-
short-term deal unless he hits the market. Who knows? I mean, there seems to be a big market
Yeah.
for Edmundson considering how much players love him.
Yeah.
He's one of those character guys. A really nice piece for a true Stanley Cup contender. So maybe to keep him would be tough, but if you can get him at like $1 million, why not?
I don't think he's. He was at what 1.6 in Washington.
Yeah, it's like double retention, right? Because it's Montreal and Washington.
Yeah, so he's making a lot more than that.
Yeah, he is.
I just think that some team, it's gonna be like the Luke Shen thing. They want to keep him, but some team's just gonna offer a richer offer.
I like him though already. I
Yeah,
know he's only
you
played
like-
one game.
Again, he's a good player. Of course, we'd want him at the right price, but the Leafs with their cap situation, they're not gonna be that flexible, right? And I could see a team offering Edmundson, a little bit more money.
Yeah.
Right.
I love a guy who lays the lumber.
Tumber. I was
Tumber?
gonna say term, but you said lumber. It's Tumber.
He's got some tumber on that deal, Mr. Joel Edmundson. I say sign him, you say see you later.
Yeah, see you later.
Wow. All right. The Russian Bear, Ilya Lyubushkin,
Goodbye.
29. Wow, that was quick.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, my friend.
You need this
Depth pair. They have a lot of bottom pair D men.
This is it. You need to get rid of all these depth pair guys,
Yeah.
and use that money to bring in a big name guy or a higher caliber defense to play with Morgan Riley, right? That is why you say goodbye to Ilya Lyubushkin. You can't bring all these guys back.
Or how about trade Morgan Riley?
You could do that too.
No one's had that discussion yet.
I mean, he's got a no move clause, so he controls that whole situation.
I understand that.
And he's signed for what, another 6 years? 5
Maybe we
years?
shouldn't get into that conversation because it's
There
kind of
is some-
crazy.
there is somebody I want to get into the conversation because you missed the biggest UFA on the Leafs board already.
They did?
Yeah. I know. Well, let's go with Simone Benoit first. We both are going to say sign him, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
775, 25 years old. He's RFA. Sign him now.
Yeah.
Do it today.
Yeah, sign
You
him.
see what you do with Bobby?
Yeah.
rewarded him.
Signed Simone Benoit.
Simone Benoit deserves that
Similar
reward.
deal,
I love
maybe
this
a little
guy.
bit cheaper on the AAV, but
Listen, he might not see a lot of action in the playoffs, but I think he deserves it. And the guy he had a horrible preseason, looked like he wasn't even going to make the team, and he did, and credit to him.
And quickly with the goalies, before I get to the biggest.
Oh, hold on. We got another defenseman.
Did we?
Yeah.
Who?
Mark Giordano.
Oh, he's gone.
40-year-old Mark Giordano.
I think Mark Giordano retires.
Don't do that about Mark.
He retires.
No,
after
he
this
did
year.
a disrespectful hand gesture.
He retires.
You think he retires?
Yeah, I think so.
I know. He's been pretty banged up. He's what? I think he just had a concussion, right?
He's gonna still on LTIR right
Yeah,
now.
not great.
So.
I mean, I love Giordano. I love like that fight and what he brings to the team and that toughness. I wish a lot more guys played with that heart that he did.
Yeah.
Honestly. But at 40 years old, he's lost a step clearly. Yeah, he's probably done.
Yeah? No.
We're going into the netminders, unless who did I miss?
I have one big UFA that you missed. Mitch Marner. Going to this summer is the UFA year for Mitch Marner.
But he's not a UFA. These guys are all UFAs. They're free agents in this summer.
Technically.
Yes.
But going into this offseason, this Mitch Marner is the biggest UFA for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Because if he is not down to sign and commit to the Leafs this year, you have to trade him.
He will be because the Leafs are going to give him all the money he wants.
But that's what I'm saying. That's the biggest domino to fall this offseason is what happens with Mitch Marner, right? Do you decide, okay, we're going to back up the Brinks truck like we did for Nylander, but a little bit more for you, give you the full 8-year, 12 million, whatever. Are we going to do that for you? Okay. Mitch, do you want to be here? Get that deal. That deal has to get done first. And I would not be surprised if that's the first piece of business that Brad Tree living in this front office, if they're still around, do, right? Or whoever comes in, that's going to be the first pressing order. What do you do with Mitch Marner? How do you maneuver that? Mitch, do you want to resign here? Do you want to stay here? Okay, let's work out something. If the price gets too high, okay, Mitch, you know what? We got to look to trade you, right?
The Leafs don't operate like that.
They don't. But what I'm saying is that's the biggest obstacle this offseason you have to follow.
I don't think it's an obstacle. I think they're not going to trade him.
So then you're going to have to sign him then to whatever.
What would his value be after another first-round exit?
Some team will pay Mitch Marner. Some team will offer
I think he loses a lot of value. One because he's a pending UFA, and you're going to have to pay him large.
Albert, this guy's going to probably get close to 100. Well, he's been missing these games now.
So now that he's missing games, he's probably not going to hit 100
but
points.
He's still got to get to 90 points.
Yeah, in the regular season, he's great. I'm not disputing that.
But
and you're probably going to get picks and maybe a legit player. Maybe, I don't know how the trade will work out.
You'll get a legit player. You can make a hockey
I just don't
deal for
see it
Mitch
happening.
Marner.
I just expect them to sign him to probably the biggest deal possible.
You could get a top 4 defenseman for Mitch Marner.
Of course you can.
And a player swap or whatever, right? A pure hockey trade. You could get something like that.
But he also has a no move, right?
So that's something, again, that's what I'm saying. That's the issue you have to deal with first.
I would listen. You know me. I'm on the trade Mitch Marner train, and people have gotten on me about that, but you need to free up some space. You need to get a legit defenseman. Mm-hmm. Unless you sign him and then you deal with it once Tavares comes off the books, and then you manage the team.
You can't kick the can down the road that far. You
might have to, though.
You need cap certainty if you're moving forward, right? You need to understand what you're working with. Look at the Dallas Cowboys right now in the NFL. They can't do anything in free agency because Dak Prescott has a $60 million cap hit because they kicked the can down the road. Yeah. You're doing this with Mitch Marner. Say for next season.
Mitch is getting probably 13.
No, probably 12.
12, okay, 12 and a half.
12.25, 12 and a half.
God.
Right? But I'm saying you have to know that. At least you know going to, okay, Mitch after this year is making 12.25, 12.5 for the next 8 years. We know that. Okay, now we can maneuver our cap around that. How are we going to bring players in?
They can't keep doing
That's
this,
the first piece of business you have to do.
Yeah. In my opinion, they just can't keep doing that. They got to move on from somebody. Or, like you said, kick the can down the road and wait for Tavares to come off the books and then do it then. But the glaring need is a legit defenseman.
Yeah.
So we'll wait and see. All right, we got 2 netminders also to wrap this up. Mm-hmm. Let's start with Martin Jones. You think goodbye?
Good story. 35 years old, 35
probably.
Next year. Goodbye.
Yeah, probably. Who knows? Maybe he'll want to stay along and be the third string guy again. I doubt it, but I can see a team picking him up as well and giving him a deal. Mm-hmm. The next one is Ilya Samsonov making $3.55.
See you later.
He's gone. Yeah.
Great story again this year.
Amazing story. And I hope he gets paid in the offseason.
He's going to get, some teams going to offer him money because teams are stupid on how they spend money in free agency about goaltending. It's clear Joseph Wall is probably the goalie of the future.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? So what you do is you make him your number one and you bring in a cheaper backup, maybe a platoon system again on the cheap, but you don't bring back Samsonov because most likely you're going to have to pay him at least the going rate.
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
I see him. It's like in Carolina or something like that.
I could see him going to Ottawa.
Oh, Ottawa. That's interesting.
I could see him going to Ottawa.
Yeah, I can see that too. How about that back end? Hey, Eric Carlson and Ilya Samsonov.
Holy.
Watch out. Yeah, Sammy's been great, but they took him to arbitration, told him how bad he was, had a horrible season up until this point.
Yeah.
And he's just, even still, it's a great story. Can you fully trust him? I don't think they do.
And you want to clear the decks for Wall.
Yeah. Listen, you got a young guy, and you got him on the cheap for a little while as well. That's your guy moving forward. It's going to be Joseph Wall. All right, that was sign him or...
Send him? Sign him or see you later?
There you go. Sign him or see you later. Sign him or send him.